bringing news that matters to you. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight Northern Edition.
Welcome back. The land of the Jaguars is celebrating this week. The festivities moving into high gear today as the school celebrates its 20th anniversary. Megan Shepard reports.
Retirees, long-serving teachers, and former administration and staff of St. George's High School recognized and celebrated for their invaluable contribution to the institution over the past 20 years. Former District Superintendent for Grand Bahama, Dr. Cecil Thompson, recalls that the closure of Hawksbill High School in June of 1995 gave way to the opening of Gumbayland Secondary School in September of 1995.
The first principal was a fellow called Harcourt Davis, the district superintendent in North Andros. He's retired. Mrs. Mary Cooper, who is now the district superintendent, was the the second principal here. Mr. Kenneth Roma was the principal. Marvin Roll is now the district education officer. Mr. Keith Barr, who is the current principal, was the language teacher at Hawksbill High School in my day. And so what I'm saying, this foundation has been solidly laid by some great principals, educators, basically teachers.
District Superintendent Mary Cooper was also part of the formative years of St. George's High School. She says years spent at the school were some of her best, and she sees great things for the school in the years to come.
I've had the pleasure of serving as the principal of the school for 9 years, from 1996 to 2005. I saw improvement year after year in our national examinations. I was extremely pleased with our results while I was here, and it continues year after year.
Current Principal Keith Barr says that the day not only recognizes teachers and administration, but also the outstanding students. He says the goal in the months ahead is focused on growth.
Just to continue the tradition and try and enhance it some more. See if we could have more programs, have more students who are doing more successful in the programs, and the ultimate goal is to also try and get students scholarships and just set up our programs so they could be programs where students can benefit from them greatly.
Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
Good job. Well, he is a famous Bahamian artist whose work is widely recognized internationally. Today, students enrolled in the BGCSE examinations got a lesson in art, Amos Ferguson style. Coordinators hope it will give them the competitive edge. Natalia Hall has the story.
The Sir Charles Haywood Library hosting its first Paint Like Amos workshop on Tuesday morning. And if you're wondering what painting like Amos Ferguson is all about,
using a very tiny brush, a thick brush, house paint, cardboard, and nails of various heads.
Community Outreach Officer of the National Art Gallery of the Bahamas, Abby Smith, was on island for the workshop and gave the kids a special challenge.
They would have to use these materials to mimic Amos Ferguson's work. I gave them 4 images: a conch shell, a fish, a yellow elder, and a flamingo.
The discussion of the workshop began some 2 years ago and has now been brought into fruition. Director of the Sir Charles Haywood Library, Geneva Rutherford, calls it an incredible opportunity.
When we look at art, music, and drama in the country, it's critical that we encourage young people to go in those avenues. I think it gives the students another view. It gives the schools another avenue for teaching. But there's nothing like having persons from the National Art Gallery, the researcher, the community outreach officer, the assistant curator come in and work with them. And they're all very young. And sometimes I think we think only the sciences and the hardcore research areas is critical, but everything. This is critical to our development.
Natalie Willis of the National Art Gallery says the workshop will expand their talents.
It's good for them to meet people from other schools, which helps. And 2, it's just it's different when they're working outside a class environment and outside of schools, because like in school you kind of get very bogged down by all your other assignments and stuff, so it's kind of nice for them to be able to just do this and feel a bit more free, especially because like Amos's style is more simple and stuff, and it kind of, in some ways, it goes against a lot of stuff you learn in school. So yeah, it's kind of nice for them to get a bit of a change.
It's Talia Hall, ZNS Network News.
And now it is time to ask the doctor.
I'm Dr. Monique Pratt. Welcome. Kevin sent this question. A couple of weeks ago, I went to the emergency room after a serious car accident. I suffered a broken collarbone and some bruising, and I thank God it was not more serious. But the whole experience took almost a whole day because the emergency room was so full of people. It seemed to me that most of those people didn't have to be there at all. Doc, isn't an emergency room just for medical emergencies? Kevin, I love your question, and thank you for your honesty. Yes, in a perfect world, only serious medical emergencies would end up in a hospital's emergency room. However, when people need care, they will go to where they can get it. Sometimes that is their doctor's office or a community clinic, and sometimes they seek treatment at a hospital emergency room. And while this is far from ideal, and it may mean that some people who do not require urgent care may wait longer for service, no one will ever be turned away from an emergency room if they need help. So if you or your loved one experiences what you consider to be an emergency, please don't hesitate to visit the nearest emergency room, even if you think the wait will be a long one, because your health and your life may depend on it. I'm Dr. Monique Pratt, and this has been Ask the Doctor.
Stay with us. Sabrina Brown has a check on sports when we return.